Hi and welcome back to the channel on our continuing voyage to become better blues players. I'm Mark, and in this video we're going to look at a set of blues licks that are taken from A minor pentatonic box position 3. So the way the lesson's going to work is you're going to see me play an example solo over a backing track that uses 6 licks taken from this particular scale. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll pull the licks apart and show you them all one by one so you can learn how to play them for yourself and understand where they come from. Finally, at the end of the video, I'm actually going to teach you the box position 3 scale shape on the neck, show you where that is, tell you a few interesting things about it and how you can help get to know it and navigate your way around it. So after all of that, let's get on with the solo. Here's the example solo, and I'll see you on the other side when we pull the licks apart. So that was the example solo, and now what I'll do is I'll show you the licks one by one. So here's lick 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's all it is, just 4 notes. The important thing is it starts on the preceding bar before the solo on the count-in. 1, 2, 3, and then when we get to beat 4 of the count-in, you're going to play a triplet. You're going to play this as a triplet, okay, and then when the solo actually starts on beat 1 of bar 1 of the solo, you're going to land this note here. Okay, so the actual notes, we're starting D string, 12th fret, pulling off to 10, and then A string at the 12th fret, and before jumping all the way over to the B string and hitting that at the 10th fret, holding that and shaking it. And it's that B string note that you need to land on beat 1 of the solo. So here's the lick, nice and slow. Remember, it comes in on beat 4, so I'll give you a 3 beat count in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that was lick 1. Lick 2 now goes like this. Okay, so lick 1 came in as the intro, landing and starting on the A7 chord, first bar of the solo. Lick 2 starts on the second bar of the solo, so we're still on an A7 chord. What we're going to do is we're going to start by grabbing 13 on the B string, bending that upper whole tone before grabbing 10 on the top E string. Okay, and then what we're going to do is 13 on the B string, coming off to 10, and then off to 12 on the G string. So we get 13 to 10 on the B string to 12 on the G string, and then coming back to 10 on the B string. So far, that part together slowly, what we've got is we start with the bend and then we do that little run. Okay, and then what we're going to do is 13, grab it, bend it slightly sharp, and then hit 10 on the B string twice. So it's kind of like a slow curl of a bend. And you're not bending it all the way up a whole tone, you're just bending it slightly sharp. Okay, so let's do lick 2, all of lick 2, nice and slow. Okay, in fact, let's do it even slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, always hard to play slow, but there you go. Okay, so that was lick 2. Lick 3 now goes like this. So lick 3 you might recognize because it's actually taken from the intro to the solo of Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, and I did a whole video about my favourite licks from that particular song and my favourite bits of Dave Gilmour's playing. So if you're interested, go and check that out. But basically, I've taken that lick and I've reworked it slightly, just same notes, but just tweaked the timing slightly to make it fit into this particular blues solo. So it's coming in bar 4 of the 12 bar blues, so still over the A7 chord, and it's basically playing like an intro run running into bar 5. You're going to land that big note at the end on beat 1 of bar 5. So the chord progression on bar 5 goes to the D7 chord. So you're actually playing over the change from A7 to D7, and you're landing that big note at the end on that actual D7 note. D7 chord change. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual notes. So we start 13 on the B string, pull off to 13 on the B string, pull off to 10. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to play 12 on the G string, back to 10 on the B string. Okay, that little piece all together. Then what we're going to do is we're going to grab 12 on the G string, bend that up a whole tone, and then with the index finger grab 10 on the B string, followed by 10 on the top E string. And you've got to kind of roll your finger because you don't want those to ring out. You're not playing this. You're actually playing them as individual notes. Okay, and then we're just going to land the last note, the big note on the chord change, beat 1 of bar 5, grab 13 and bend it up a whole tone and give it a little shake. Okay, whole lick nice and slow. Here we go. Okay, something like that. Anyway, so the important thing about that is the timing of that is pretty unusual. It's, yeah, I found it a little unusual trying to work that in. The way we're playing it is it comes in on beat 2 of bar 4. So when you're counting it, when bar 4 starts, you skip a beat and then come in on beat 2, and you play it as almost like 2 little phrases. Okay, I totally overemphasized the pause between the 2 sections. The Pink Floyd David Gilmour lick, he plays it all as one flurry, but that's because it's not a shuffle, it's in 4/4. I've had to kind of just tweak the time slightly to make it fit, and that's why I've got it as almost like 2 little, like a 2 slight phrases. Okay, so that was lick 3. That gets us into the D7 chord, and what we're going to do now is we're going to play lick 4, which are broken into 4A and 4B. We're going to play that over the D7 chord. So here's the whole of lick 4 up to speed. Okay, and what we're doing is we're starting 10 on the top E string, playing 12 on the top E string, pulling back off to 10, then playing 13 on the B string, back to 10 on the top E string. So far we've got this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to play 13 to 10 on the B string. Okay, so far we've got this. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to play this little phrase twice. Okay, well, play that little phrase, I played it twice as it was. So what we're doing is we're getting 12 on the G string, bending it up a whole tone, and grabbing 10 on the B string and doing that twice. Okay, and then finally playing 13 on the B string, bend it slightly sharp, and then come off to 10 on the B string. Okay, and that's the whole of lick 4A. So let's do that again. Here's 4A up to speed. Okay, and I'll try and do it nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we're into lick 4B, and lick 4B goes like this. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm going 12 on the G string to 9 on the G string to 12 on the D string, and then coming off to jumping again up to 10 on the B string. This 10 on our B string here, this note, that's our root note, so that's an A, a note there. So that's the reason why all of our licks seem to revolve around that particular note, is because that's an A and we're playing in the key of A, so that note's always going to sound the strongest. Okay, so back to lick 4B. Sometimes I'll pull that off, and sometimes I'll pick it twice. It doesn't really matter, do it however you feel. Okay, so let's put lick 4A and lick 4B together. Here it is up to speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'll try and do it nice and slow. A whole of lick 4. Okay, so that was lick 4. Lick 4 plays over the D chord. So if you imagine your 12-bar blues, this is the end of the D7 chord going back into the A7 chord. So a lot of people often will send me emails or comments or whatever saying, please explain which lick goes over which chord. This particular solo, most of the licks playing across the chord changes. They're not playing like this is the lick you play over the A7 chord, now this is the lick you play over the D7 chord. Most of the time you'll see they're actually playing across the chord changes. So I'm trying to explain that as we go. Okay, so that was lick 4. Lick 5 now is when we've moved over to the E7 chord, and we play, well actually the whole of lick 5 goes from playing over the E7 chord, the D7 chord, and then finally landing on the A7 chord. Okay, I'll play it up to speed. It goes like this. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what notes are we playing there? We're starting with 12 on the B string, bending that, 12 on the G string, bending that slightly sharp, twice before coming off to 9 on the G string. So you'll notice the underlying chords progression is now playing an E note. So I'm actually targeting this E note. So here's the E here. Okay, so that's why we're doing this. Okay, so we've got that. Then what we're doing is 12 on the D string, back to 9 on the G string, giving that a little shake before finally hitting 12 on the G string again. The whole of lick 5A. Okay. Lick 5B now comes back to 9 on the G string to 12 on the G string and bend that up a whole tone. Almost a whole tone there, almost. Then what I'm doing is using my index finger to roll between the notes again. 10 on the B string to 10 on the top E. So far in lick 5B we have this. Okay, and then what we're doing is we're grabbing 13 on the B string and pushing it up a whole tone. Okay, we've done that quite a lot in this solo already before coming back to 10 on the top E and again rolling our finger to land on 10 on the B string. Okay, so lick 5B, then nice and slow, goes like this. Okay, and you hold that 10 on the top E, the second to last note, you're only hitting that and killing it dead before coming off to 10 on the B string and holding that and giving it a shake. Okay, so that's those last two notes. Okay, so we've gone, that was lick 5. Lick 5, in fact, let's do all of lick 5 together. So we've gone over, that played over an E7 chord to a D7 chord, and then that last note lands on the start of the A7 chord on bar 11 of the 12 bar blues. So then what we need is we need a lick that's going to take us from an A7 chord to an E7 chord. And so this is lick 6, and this is what we play. Okay, and what we're doing is we're starting 12th fret G string, push it up a whole tone, off to 10 on the B string, before going back to 12 on the G string. So far we've got this. And then just coming off to 9 on the G string and giving it a shake. And the reason why we're ending the lick on that note is because that's an E note, and at that point in the chord progression, the underlying chord progression has now moved to an E7 chord. So always targeting the notes of the underlying chord progression. That's kind of how this solo works. That's how I play blues an awful lot. Okay, so those are all the licks. What I'll do now is I will slow down the original solo, so the performance, and I'll put the tab on screen so you can see that, you can see the actual performance at a slow speed with tab. Okay, so that was all of the licks. What we'll do now is we'll talk about the actual chord progression and everything. Before I do, we'll say, as always, the tab and the backing track are available. The tab, you send me an email, I'll send you an email back, and I'll put the tab as an attachment. You want my email address and details, see the description below. The backing track is available as a separate track on YouTube, so you can jam over it and play over it yourself. Again, details in the section below in the description part. The backing track is available as an MP3 or to Patreon supporters as well, but I only make the MP3 available to Patreon supporters. One of the few nice little gifts that they get for helping me by supporting the channel and paying for the lights and the camera and all the other equipment that you see around. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual scale position now. So the reason I did this lesson was I've spent a lot of time in recent videos on A minor pentatonic, and we've done a lot in box position 1. We've done a few licks and things, a couple of videos focusing on box position 2. So I thought it'd be nice to go for box position 3. It's not a scale shape that a lot of people use that often, but it's a great way of kind of opening up more of the neck. So the actual scale shape goes like this. Okay, there's several peculiar things about this. The first one is when you just play it as a box position like that, it's a bit weird because your lowest note is a D and your highest note is an E, and it just kind of sounds weird. It's not like when you're playing box position 1 where you're going kind of A here to A here. So really, if you play the scale, you should always start and end on an A note. So let's do that again by starting and ending on this A note here, 12th fret, A string. Okay, so that's the scale, and I'll put the graphics and things on screen so you can actually see it and learn it for yourself. Just pause the video and kind of go through that if you're not familiar with the scale pattern already. Few interesting things, or things you need to know about this scale pattern. When we're in the key of A, and so our root note is 12th fret A string and 10th fret B string. Okay, so you'll notice in the example solo, I just played around, I kind of homed in on this 10th fret B string an awful lot because that's our root note, that's the note that's always going to sound strongest. Okay, the D notes in here, because obviously we go to a D7 chord during the blues. The D is 12th fret D string, 10th fret A string, sorry, 10th fret top E string. And our E note, so the note that we're going to target when we go to an E7 chord, that one is 9th fret on the G string and 12th fret top E. Now there's also one right down here, 12th fret low E string. Must admit, I don't really use that one very much. When I'm using this, as you'd have seen from the example solo, I'm mainly using the D string through to the top E string. Don't use the bottom two strings that much. So when you're learning this scale, always focus on where your root note is, and just kind of play around with the notes around that root note. Okay, when the chord progression moves to the D, you're going to be targeting this note here. But you can also get to that note there by grabbing this 13 on the B string and pushing it up a whole tone. So you'll notice I did that an awful lot. And then when the chord progression goes to an E chord, I'm going to target either this note here or this one up here. So peculiar thing about box position 3 is if you look at like a classic blues lick, like this one here. Okay, you've got that in box position 1. You've also got it in box position 2. Okay, and in fact, even if you go up to box position 4, you've got it there as well. Okay, you can do that everywhere because you've got a D note on your ring finger, and so that lick will kind of pop out here and there on the neck wherever you're playing a box position where you've got a D note on the ring finger. With box position 3, you don't have that. There's, well, I mean, you've kind of got it here, but I'd never play this because you just wouldn't. So all the notes where you've got a D, so you've got the D that you've got to play with here, it's on your index finger, it's not on your ring finger, so you can't do that lick. Similarly, in box position 1 and in box position 2, you've got a root note on your ring finger. You don't have that in box position 3. Box position 3, your root note is on your index finger. Okay, so the point I'm making of explaining these things is it forces you to play a little differently. If you're playing in box position 1 or box position 2 or even in box position 4, you've kind of got the same licks. You can play the same lick in the 3 different places and it just sounds great. In box position 3, you don't have those licks. You've got to come up with some slightly different licks. And so it kind of forces you to think a little differently, be a little bit more inventive or whatever, because the notes all fall on different fingers. And that was, in putting this lesson together, that was one of the things that I found really interesting about it. So something to be aware of, and it just means that you have to play in a slightly different way. But I hope you enjoyed the solo. I hope you agree that the solo sounds pretty cool, very bluesy, but it doesn't use those cliched blues licks. There's other things going on. So anyway, have a play around with box position 3. If you like this, please drop me a comment, explain, saying that you like it or whatever. Leave me comments, leave me a like. Please hit subscribe and the little bell thing so that you get to know when there's more lessons. If you do like this lesson and you do like what I've been doing with box position 3, and you'd like me to, I could do a similar example solo just using box position 4 and box position 5 as well, so you can play blues all over the neck. Okay, big massive thanks to my Patreon supporters who make all of this possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.